Okay. Okay. So joining in from South Africa is Sune Stassen, who is the co-founder, custodian, and the CEO of Open Design Africa. It is a movement, a design. She's a design activist and an educator and designer, and she founded Open Design Africa as a social enterprise and not-for-profit company to promote the design scene in Africa. And as a design leader, she has a lot of experience with different cultures and different uh, fields of design. And before I say anything more, I think she'll be the best one to speak more. So over to you, Sune. Let's get started.
Thank you very much. A warm greetings to you all from Cape Town. I think it's indeed a huge privilege for all of us to have the opportunity to attend the first World-Class Designers Conference, right? And a special thanks to the organizers for inviting me to share my lifelong journey of discovery from the early days when I started out as a design educator and until today as the co-founder of Open Design Africa. Sorry, let me just see. Okay, there was a bit of a glitch. So by wearing different hats, and I quickly realized how important it is to add appropriate value across the triple bottom line. For me, this became a very simple way to cut through the noise and to stay purpose-driven and deliver significance and meaning at the very center of everything that we do, adding value to the greater good. And then, of course, today delivering on the demands of the future that the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals so clearly define. And then I've always looked at our man-made world through a design lens, identifying with the human race at the helm and as the chief designers. So before I take you along on my personal journey, let's first have a look at the world we've created for greater context.
Fun fact, planet Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Mankind, about 140,000 years old. Let me put that in perspective. If you condense the Earth's lifespan into 24 hours, that's one full day, then we have been here on this planet for, drum roll please, 3 seconds. 3 seconds. And look what we've done. We have modestly named ourselves Homo sapiens, meaning wise man. But is man really so wise? Smart, yes, and it's good to be smart, but not too smart for your own good. Yes, we have split the atom. Yes, we build clever machines that navigate the universe in search of new homes, but at the same time, those atoms we split created nuclear warfare. In our quest to explore the galaxy, rejects and neglects the home that we have here now, so no, that cannot be wisdom. Wisdom is different. While intelligence speaks, wisdom listens, and we willingly covered our ears to Mother Nature's screams and closed our eyes to all of her help-wanted signs. Wisdom knows that every action has an equal and opposite reaction, so if we were wise, we would not be shocked when we see storms that are stronger than ever before, or more drought, hurricanes, and wildfire than ever before, because there's more pollution than ever before, more carbon, more trees cut down than ever before. At a record pace, we have increased the extinction of animals by 1,000 times the normal rate. What a feat. In the next 10 to 100 years, every beloved animal character in every children's book is predicted to go extinct. Lions gone, rhinos gone, tiger, gorilla, elephant, polar bear gone. In 3 seconds. Species that have been here longer than us will be gone because of us. In this 3 seconds. In an existence shorter than a Vine video, we turn the circle of life into our own personal conveyor belt. Somebody, anybody help. We were given so much, the only planet in this solar system with life. I mean, we are 1 in a million. No, actually, scientifically, we are 1 in a billion, trillion. That's a 1 followed by 33 zeros. And I don't want to get too spiritual, but how are we not a miracle? We are perfectly positioned to the sun so we don't burn, but not too distant so we don't turn to ice. ice. Goldilocks said it best, we are just right. This paradise where we are given medicine from trees, not coincidentally, but because like the song says, we are family. Literally, everything, every species is connected genetically, from the sunflower to the sunfish. And this is what we must recognize before it's too late, because the real crisis is not global warming, environmental destruction, or animal agriculture. It is us. These problems are symptoms of us, byproducts of us. Our inner reflection, loss of connection has created this misdirection. We have forgotten that everything contributes to the perfection of Mother Nature. Corporations keep us unaware and disconnected, but they have underestimated our strength. Contrary to popular belief, millions are waking up out of their sleep, seeing our home being taken right up under our feet. We cannot allow our history to be written by the wicked, greedy, and loony. It is our duty to protect Mother Nature from those who refuse to see her beauty. Call me crazy, but I believe we should have the right to eat food that's safe, with ingredients we can pronounce. Drink water that is clean, marvel at trees, breathe air free of toxins. These are natural rights, not things that can be bargained for in Congress. See, they want you to feel powerless, but it has been said that something as small as the flutter of a butterfly's wing can cause a typhoon halfway around the world. But when enough people come together, we too will make waves and wash the world into a new era filled with love and connection, freedom for all without oppression. But it is up to you, yes, you watching this behind this screen, to make the effort, because time is of the essence, and only together can we make it to the 4th second.
Yes, so for generations, the human race has very successfully engineered a very destructive and unjust world for living in. Taking into consideration that 2 of the 3 core pillars of this vital design process have been ignored for generations, the state of the world, I think, cannot come as a surprise to any of us. The ripple effect has been absolutely devastating across the triple bottom line. But as a designer, I strongly believe, and I'm always optimistic, that we are equally capable of designing the exact opposite. History has proved that without investing in appropriate education, we cannot expect different results in the future. And I can't help but to wonder how long before creativity will be prioritized in education as a core building block for every child to develop into a future maker. And of course, the current global pandemic also heightened our awareness of how everything in this world is connected, and we are all part of a much greater ecosystem. And to me, this simply means that every citizen of this world is part of this vital global design team. I think it's very important. We need to understand we are part of a global design team. After being trained as an educator and designer, I embarked on my teaching career in the early 90s, teaching textile design and three-dimensional design at secondary school level for more than 15 years. And it's difficult to deny that the early days was not a rude awakening when I started to realize that there's a lot of educated people around me who don't understand, who has got a complete misconception about the value and the power of design. And I found myself in many heated debates, especially with parents and teachers who were favoring maths and science and technology for future success. Basically claiming that creativity should be left to the kids who are not academically strong. And then one day, someone actually shouted at me, design has got no value to add to society, especially not in a country like South Africa. And that was for me like a triple wow. But in hindsight, this was a pivotal moment in my career that really fueled my determination to take the world of design beyond the creative industries and to as many people as possible. So I quickly ditched my design lingo and started having very ordinary everyday conversations. And just by changing the narrative, I realized that a lot more people could relate to what I was saying. And that made a huge difference. It was also during the 90s that a group of us started to lobby for design at National Department of Basic Education in South Africa. And this took us 9 years before we finally succeeded. So just for context, also remember in the 90s is when South Africa had its first democratic elections in 1994. So I just want to give a little bit of context there. And it really felt like we achieved the impossible, to be quite honest, because in 2006, a brand new subject called design was about to introduce into South African schools. And by the way, we had no idea that South Africa will be the very first country in the world to introduce design at this secondary level. So this was actually a huge milestone also for design globally. But we were faced with several challenges. Most educators had no training in design, and even though we were busy developing the curriculum, it was very clear that there weren't any plans for textbooks or training manuals for educators on the card soon. And this made me very anxious. I mean, I just started looking at myself. It's like asking me to teach design or mathematics with no previous knowledge or guidance, which will be a complete disaster. And with no budget or resources to train educators, we desperately needed to find another solution. So in 2004, I was invited to a meeting with the marketing manager at Woolworths to discuss another project. And I must say, I took a fat chance and hijacked the last bit of this meeting to put this new design agenda and my new concept on the table. At the time, design was mostly dismissed by the world of business. And I thought having a big corporate on board will do a lot for the credibility of design, and also will be a powerful marketing tool to elevate the value of design overall. So in 2005, I was contracted by Woolworths as the project manager and the content developer for the new Making Difference to Design program, ready to roll out with the new curriculum at the start of 2006. We had to be very resourceful with what we had and use this program not only as support for the new curriculum, but also as a vehicle to develop local role models and pride in local design. It was also a great opportunity, of course, for the youth to learn from some of the best our country had to offer. What you currently see on the screen is one of the key components of the program, which is called the Making Difference to Design Daily Resource Manual, that featured 86 case studies of top South African designers from diverse sectors and demographics. And for us, it was super important to also include successful designers who did not have formal training due to lack of opportunities or financial means, so that a broader youth market who are faced with similar challenges could relate and be inspired by their personal stories of perseverance and passion and vision and success. We also used each case study as an educational tool to teach the educators and the learners about the importance of the design process and how it is executed across a variety of sectors and in different contexts. In 2006, this program was rolled out into 121 schools in the Western Cape, and within less than a year, we added 2 more provinces, adding a total of 400 schools and taking the world of design to about 18,000 teenagers across the country. Now, we all know that exceptional talent can be found in all corners of society. And in 2008, my relationship with the Lurie Awards started to pay off when I was appointed as the first project manager and content developer for the Creative Future Scholarship that was piloted later that year. But we needed to be mindful that a scholarship means very little when you can't afford materials or travel costs or just basic living costs. So we decided to develop a very inclusive process that covers cost of travel, materials, accommodation, and school fees, of course, so that they could study at the top South African design schools. And once this new recipient was confirmed, I stepped in as the mentor for the duration of the 3-year studies. And I occupied this position for several years, so I felt extremely privileged to experience the journey of many of these young talents. But of course, investing in youth can present a huge risk, especially for a sponsor. We had to ask, what if they can't cope and they drop out? And after all, I mean, our whole idea was to set them up for future success and not for failure. So to cut down on potential risk, I developed a screening process where their creative skills were not the determining factor. After all, we were scouting for creative future leaders. So as part of the nomination process, educators had to rate the candidates' communication and people skills leadership qualities, emotional intelligence, level of perseverance, work ethics, overall academic performance, involvement in their communities, and more. So this screening process really proved to be very successful because they all turned out to become top performers. This scholarship is still active today and have since created many successful creative futures for talents across South Africa. I want to quickly introduce you to Siyabonga Ntamela. He was our very first recipient back in 2008. And it was also amazing later on to see that in 2015, he was invited back by the Lurie Awards to serve on the jury process for that year.
My name is Siyabonga Ntamela. I live in Inanda and I'm 21 years old. While I was at school in Standard 10, we entered a competition by submitting different artworks. Then they told me that I've won the scholarship competition because of my artwork. They told me that I've won a bursary to go and study at Vega. And from that day, my life just changed. After studying, I went to work at Drafters B as a DTP operator, and now I've been promoted to become a junior art director. One thing I like to say to our people out there is that in life there's a lot of failures and there's a lot of things that will push you down. Whenever there's darkness, just be strong and you'll get through. So I just want to say thank you to the Lorries, because now if I had to draw a piece of art, I'll put some color in it to show a bit of happiness.
Siyabonga Ntamela was the first recipient of the Creative Future Scholarship in 2008.
Okay, it was also around about the same time of this year that I was approached to help develop the first design textbooks and teacher manuals for grades 10 to 12 in a new role as the contributing editor. And with an incredible team of design education experts, we successfully completed this very big project in only a few years. The textbooks are still in circulation today and feature various local and global and African examples across 4 different chapters, which include history of design, design in a business context, as well as design briefs for 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional practical projects that's easily accessible for learners and educators, both in the urban and rural areas, so that everyone can equally participate, learn, and develop these new skills. We also use the content to inspire new mindsets and kind of create new aspirations and to develop future thinkers and change makers with more of a can-do attitude. In 2009, we had another unexpected but really exciting surprise when the Making Difference Through Design program was nominated for an Index Awards situated in Copenhagen. At the time, this was the biggest design award in the world. And out of 900 global nominations, we ended up as a finalist in the community category, which secured also our spot in the 2009 Index Awards Expo that traveled the world for the next 2 years. This was like a really amazing wow for our team. And then it was kind of time again for me to take stock and do a reality check. And although acknowledging all our achievements over the years, I realized that design was still too exclusive. At school, only the so-called, like they say, the non-academics and the creative teenagers will choose the subject. And looking at all the underlying skills young people can develop, I realized very quickly that all these are core life skills and that every person should have the right to develop them. So accessibility and finding new ways to democratize participation, knowledge sharing, learning, and networking across diverse demographics suddenly became a top priority for me. Between 2010 and 2013, lots of exciting projects that transpired and that really helped to reposition this new design narrative within civil society. For this one specifically, I was invited to Seoul in South Korea to be a jury member and observer at the first Design Can Do workshop. And shortly thereafter, we brought the same project to Cape Town when we hosted our first workshop. It was a 36-hour workshop with multidisciplinary teams. We had a great mix of people from scientists, engineers, designers, artists, architects, anthropologists, social workers, academics and students, of course, who gathered for one common goal. And I think this is very important, for one common goal, and that was to learn through play and making, and how to use design as a powerful tool to create social integration in an area that still bears the scars of apartheid due to forced removals. And just for context, maybe for some of you that's interested to know, this was about 5 years before the Hasso-Plattner Institute of Design Thinking, or better known as the D School, was officially launched in Cape Town at UCT. This was another one I was involved in when I was appointed to help Cape Town with its initial preparation for its World Design Capital bid for 2014. What you see on the screen are snippets from Cape Town's final bid book, which was masterfully designed by a local agency called Design Infestation. You see, in the past, design was actively used as to segregate people during apartheid. And with our World Design Capital 2014 tagline, "Live Design, Transform Life," this was a huge opportunity to show how Cape Town was using design as a catalyst to transform into a more inclusive city. And of course, it was a massive celebration. We sat up from 6 o'clock in the morning waiting for the announcement when Cape Town eventually won to become the 4th World Design Capital. And unlike the previous design capitals like Turin, Helsinki, and Seoul, Cape Town's year-long showcase was not going to be a sexy and like a glamorous affair. The Cape Town experience was all about exploring how design and innovation are used to transform lives. So you literally had to walk the streets and visit communities to explore and witness World Design Capital projects in action. The Cape Town focus, I believe, really challenged the status quo and what people locally and globally expected a typical design capital to be. And this finally brings me to open design, to our open design platform. And by the way, open design was also one of the World Design Capital projects. And in fact, in 2014, we featured more than 70 World Design Capital projects as part of our festival for people to experience and to connect with. So it was only a year prior, in 2013, when the first Open Design Cape Town Festival was piloted. And unlike any other at the time, and with our vision to not leave anyone behind, we saw a great opportunity to publicly change the design narrative from a nice to have for the elite to a necessity that can transform society, our economy, and our environment. So we developed an inclusive and accessible 2-week design experience for all who wanted to participate, share and learn from stories of South African change makers who were already using at that point creative intelligence to add significance and meaning at the very center of everything they were designing in sectors like healthcare and education, mobility, agriculture, communities, and so much more. And 2 years later, in 2015, just again for a bit more context, the world leaders adopted the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which was a great confirmation to us that our focus was spot on. The City of Cape Town was our first long-term sponsor, and the only expectation was for us to get a minimum of 1,000 people through our festival doors. Well, I must say there was clearly a great need for people to feel included because in the middle of winter, 6,700 people came from all corners of society, a number that completely, of course, exceeded everyone's expectations. And the following year, we escalated to 10,000 plus. Open Design quickly transpired into a very popular annual Cape Town event, and many started to celebrate it also as a valuable knowledge sharing and citizens education platform that can be enjoyed by young and old. In 2018, we took a much needed break, but this was also a very significant year that gave flight to new aspirations to take our platform to new heights. And early that year, we registered Open Design as a social enterprise and a not-for-profit company. And in 2019, we launched the very first Open Design Africa Festival, which is a vibrant and proudly African platform that challenges the world's negative perceptions about Africa by celebrating and sharing the genius from Africa on a global stage. And we also celebrate Africa with a K. I don't know how many of you know, but there are about 2,000 indigenous African languages, and they all write Africa with a K. So for us, Africa with a C suggests an outside world view of our continent. Africa with a K symbolizes us as Africans taking an internal view of our own continent and ownership of our own destiny and future. In October 2020, we hosted our very first virtual festival themed Rise Africa Rise, which was a huge success. And during the height of a global lockdown, and of course, people experiencing Zoom and online webinar fatigue, we really took the design of this virtual experience as a great challenge, and to produce an exciting 5-day festival with the same level of execution we always do. This was also the very first year we established a global curatorial team, which was a very enriching experience for everyone. With the V&A Waterfront in Cape Town as one of our main partners, we took the opportunity to build our very first Open Design Africa broadcasting lounge at 4 different locations, from where our MC and our local guests connected with the rest of our global audience and contributors. And this might seem like a small and insignificant detail, but one that's had massive impact. With everyone experiencing the trauma of a global pandemic, we wanted everyone to feel really connected. So we encourage our virtual contributors to use our studio setting of that day as their backdrop. And it did not look only amazing, but it truly increased that all-important, powerful feeling of togetherness that everyone is craving for during these very uncertain times. This truly added something very special to the virtual experience, and not just for the audience, but also for the contributors. Our local inspirators joined our MC on set during live broadcasting, from where we connected our contributors from 4 different continents, and sharing their personal stories as change makers with a growing audience from around the globe. And some of our African partners also hosted their own events and live streamed the festival to their communities, making the festival far more accessible, especially to many who don't have their own personal means to access the internet. We also supported our local musicians during this very difficult time by hosting 4 music sessions per day and in between our events. And they've also performed across various different locations at the V&A Waterfront. And during the same time, we also gave our attendees the opportunity to book a virtual coffee session with individual speakers for more intimate discussions after each session. All components considered, it was a huge collective effort, and by an amazing team who effortlessly pulled this off. And I'm also very excited to share that we were quite overwhelmed with the response from around the world, saying that no matter their own deadlines and their own workload, they found themselves glued to the screen. So that was incredible to hear. And also what was still amazing to us is, obviously through a virtual event, our stats clearly showed that what we were doing, our focus and our format definitely appealed hugely to the youth market. Now, because of our focus and our creative intelligence and impact to add to quality of life, open design has been driving the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals since 2013. And in the light of our aims to stimulate systemic change, we do not single out a particular SDG. Instead, we believe in the power of the collective. This communal and participatory outlook really underpins all the efforts of open design to be a vehicle of change. So before I share a few more open design experiences, I want to first give you context to why what we do at Open Design has now become even more important than before. Although the 4th Industrial Revolution creates a lot of anxiety for many, and understandably so, it also suggests unique and exciting opportunities to effect large-scale transformation and to achieve and continue to uphold the United Nations SDGs. But in order to do so, a symbiotic relationship between man and machine will be crucial to succeed in the future. And in my opinion, prioritizing large-scale investments in technology and tech skills alone without equal investment in creativity to develop the skills that really defines and differentiate us from the machine. I mean, it's our competitive edge. that does not really support, in my opinion, the symbiotic agenda. If you think back to the triple bottom line I shared with you earlier, no one pillar can succeed in building a thriving future world in isolation. Innovation should always be guided with humanity, because it secures the development and implementation of appropriate and relevant strategies and the creation of products and environments and systems and related technology that have relevance and significance and real value at the center of its creation, as well as future application. As Albert Einstein so beautifully explained, try not to become a man of financial success, but try to rather aim to become somebody of value. And I couldn't agree more. Within this context, it's really vital to understand the importance of integrated creative experiences across all levels of education and in business, in government and in civil society, because this will optimize the development of all 21st century skills and human qualities. And considering how crucial symbiotic relationship between man and machine has become, not only for survival, but to ensure that mankind, our economies, and the planet will flourish and thrive in the future, equal investment in creativity and tech skills should really be prioritized. Then data that were collected from or by LinkedIn from 600 million plus professionals, as well as 20 million plus jobs, all concur that the following skills are already in great demand. So that just kind of emphasized the point. And then not too long ago, Forbes said that creativity is the top leadership skill of the future. And what does this really mean? You see, creativity develops thought leaders. And with creative intelligence, that's very important, who are future makers, who can confidently approach everything with empathy and purpose in order to add meaning at the very center of everything that they do and deliver. They will also drive productivity and appropriate innovation that will foster sustained value, and especially to achieve and uphold the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And so creative leaders are therefore vital for future-proof business and to help drive the development of regenerative economies, flourishing environments, and thriving communities. And one last point with regards to skills development, I believe systems thinking is also a priority skill, because without that, the priority of the other skills that I've shared with you won't be realized or optimized. So it's in fact the development of imagination through creativity that is far more important than knowledge. And what Albert Einstein said in the second quote embodies so much truth for me. Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. Since 2013, we have been focusing on crafting memorable creative experiences which encourage participation of people from different walks of life, and has given them the opportunity to develop these future skills. Open design experiences include anything from inspiration days, storytelling, film, family makers, weekends, expos, workshops, and citywide activations that also create equal opportunities for designers, small enterprises, and impact entrepreneurs from marginalized communities to also host their own events as part of our festival program. When catering for such a diverse audience, it is really vitally important to design environments and experiences that makes everyone feel equal, valued, and welcome. Because people feel included, we've continued to really grow the diversity of our audience so that more can get inspired, share, play, and learn together to develop new mindsets, behavior, and ideas and solutions that really ignites hope and new aspirations so that they can take their own place in society as change makers and start to craft, we believe, their own futures. So these experiences are also designed to encourage greater social cohesion. To be and to play together happens so naturally. And this is truly awesome to witness. The content and the topics are also carefully considered so that everyone can feel capable and competent, confident and excited to participate with a very can-do attitude. We also use the Family Makers Weekend to bridge different silos through creative experiences that really integrates art, design and innovation, technology, science, maths and engineering. And due to our accessibility, many from marginalized communities experience the magic of 3D printing, virtual reality, augmented reality, mechatronics, animation and robotics at our events for the very first time. And it's so incredible to witness this immense transformation. It's a whole new world that unfolds, which of course ignites new interests and aspirations for their own futures. Hosted by the D School in Cape Town, here 180 grade 6 learners first explored the design process through design thinking before they were asked to design new solutions, innovative solutions to save water at school and at home. The following workshop was done in collaboration with the Human Sound Project. And Design is for Change was our theme for that year. To really attract a diverse audience who we use people's general love for music. No matter if you could sing or dance or only clap your hands and stamp your feet, everyone was able to fully participate. So I'm going to share a snippet to show you how their collective stories, so we started with their personal stories first, inspired the final lyrics for our open design song of collaboration, change and unity. And by the way, if you want to see the whole song, please do visit our YouTube channel.
Like all songs in the world, they're going to come from our stories, our experiences.
To let them to see what we're trying to do.
We used to have these crazy stories.
Charlie rapping, let's work together to sing a song. We can run with it, we need to ask for help, cause we can do it alone. Together we can make love and song. The best singers in the world. Okay. Confidence, determination, motivation and power. Confidence, determination, motivation and power.
We got wings to fly, the system is flawed. We need to unite so we can work together for forever.
Incredible future.
Unity. Good, man, good. Teamwork.
Magnifique.
Humbleness. Unite the people.
Extravagant.
Love. Pleasure.
Believe.
Higher and higher and then let go to the stars.
In 2019, we collaborated with the founder of Retopia, Yoko Quintans, to launch the very first Retopia Academy. The next video gives you a very good idea of what the Retopia is about.
In Retopia, we are activating all talents and skills in society for better policy making.
Everyone has a role. As a citizen, an activist, city maker, entrepreneur, artist, scientist, politician, civil servant, and so on. Too often, we still hide under the umbrellas politicians keep open for us. But politicians are overestimated. They can no longer solve our problems or address societal challenges on their own. And that's why, in Retopia, we turn the umbrella around and everyone can step into the Retopia boat to co-create a better future together.
We do this through communities of practice. We have several communities of practice that we work with. We work with local partners in this context. In Cape Town, we worked with Open Design Africa, where through a festival, we were able to organize a G100. 100 community members from 2 communities where we worked on local interventions where we could co-create with them solutions for their own communities.
In Marseille, we developed with Manifesta Le Tour de tous les possibles, where we, with 500 inhabitants in new alliances, for example, between business students and prisoners, co-created concrete solutions or possibles for Marseille and initiated the enrollment of some of the concepts. In Nairobi, we started the first Retopia intervention with Living Lab Nairobi in the informal settlement of Matare, co-creating energy solutions with residents, experts and policymakers, starting from the place-based potential of the slum.
Having the success of working in Marseille, Cape Town and Port Elizabeth and Nairobi, we would like to expand to 100 Retopian cities globally.
Let's make cities together.
Okay, this is what really excites me about Africa and why Open Design is so committed to share her greatness with the world. We believe that the world has a lot to learn from Africa. And the Global Entrepreneurial Report that was done back in 2014 already referred to Africa as leading as the leader of the world rankings when it comes to people involved in early stage entrepreneurial activities, as well as the highest number of female entrepreneurs. And I believe that people who innovate due to necessity and survival with limited resources have the inherent ability to conquer many obstacles and to succeed. This high level of skill and determination has immense power, I believe. It's a clear differentiator between Africa and the first world countries as well. Transforming necessity entrepreneurs into opportunity entrepreneurs through appropriate education can develop Africa into a very, very powerful and significant global player. The next Kenyan female entrepreneur is a great example of an opportunity entrepreneur. Besides tackling a local challenge, she's already doing this with a global mindset. And this is very important to understand the difference. She's already understanding that her intervention will also have relevance in many other parts of the world that's facing similar challenges. And this mind shift is a very simple and effective way to develop necessity entrepreneurs into opportunity entrepreneurs, to help grow their business and of course to help develop intellectual property for Africa.
Let's turn trash into cash. My name is Nzambi Mate. I'm the founder of Jijenge Makers Limited, and we convert plastic waste into building products. Plastic waste is not just a Kenya problem, but it's a worldwide problem. And here in Nairobi, we generate about 500 metric tons of plastic waste every single day, and only a fraction of that is recycled. We decided, what more can we do instead of just sitting in the sidelines and complaining? Essentially, companies have to pay to dispose the waste. So we solve their problem. The waste essentially comes for free. This is the plastic waste we get from factories. With this, we mix with sand, as the plastic is like the binder. We have 3 machines. The extruder does the mixing of plastic waste with sand at very high temperatures, and then the press compresses it. Plastic is fibrous in nature, and so therefore the brick ends up having a stronger compression strength. Does that look like waste to you? It's almost half the weight, so therefore during transportation and installation it's faster in terms of cost implication. We right now have a capacity of producing 1,000 to 1,500 bricks a day. So far we have recycled 20 metric tons, and we are looking to push that value to 50 by the end of next financial year. Winning the Young Champions of the Earth award is a huge motivation booster for us as a team. It's been a long 3-year journey, and so this was like someone saying, I see what you're doing and I appreciate that. And with this platform, we're looking to see how we can get on both partners to scale this solution, not just in Kenya, but all over Africa, just to start. And in addition to that, be able to impact and motivate other people and other youths to do similar things in different places. So right now we are just making paving blocks, but we now want to make actual building blocks. As I like saying, you have to be true to your why. Why are you doing this? What is the motivation behind it? For me, I was just tired of being in the sidelines of seeing plastic. I ideally jumped in off a cliff without even a parachute. I was building it as I was falling down. But isn't that how great things are done? So act for nature.
Awesome. Nisha Ligon is another incredible young female entrepreneur from Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. She's the founder of Ubongo, which is Africa's leading kids edutainment company that reach and educate more than 17 million kids across Africa. How incredible is that? I really love the fact that it's African, that it is so accessible, and that they use local children to bring life to the amazing characters, which makes this creative learning experience so much more fun and effective. So enjoy.
Ubongo is an entertainment social enterprise based right here in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. We've made Ubongo Kids to bring Tanzania kids like me our own cartoon and to find the fun in math. We want to share the fun with kids across Africa and all over the world.
Now we're not just a TV show. We've got a whole range of multi-platform learning products and services to bring Ubongo entertainment to kids across Africa on whatever technology they can access.
Help us nurture, teach, and inspire the next generation of African innovators and give them a space to connect minds so that they can create a better future.
Let's build a better world together. Protect our health, the land and sea. Make lasting change for the better. We will take responsibility. We may be young, but we are so strong.
I would like to leave you with some food for thought. Use your creative intelligence to design local solutions, but with a global mindset. Always understand the emotions you want people to feel first before you even start to create or start to shape your intent. Because this will have a huge impact on your approach and the decisions you make throughout your entire design process, and will help you to deliver a far more purpose-driven, sustainable, and significant result. The next one, learn about biomimicry, because nature provides you with 3.5 billion years of best and most sustainable solutions for anything and everything you want to design. Why reinvent the wheel with something that's less impactful? Understand the philosophy behind the donut economy so that you can contribute with value to the greater ecosystem. Several cities are already exploring this in order to transform themselves or to excel themselves into a thriving future. And by the way, creativity and biomimicry are two key components of this donut economy. So I want to leave you with, we need global action across all levels of education with the same urgency as we do for climate change, because this time it's about the future of humanity and the planet. At Open Design Africa, we believe that collaborative creative intelligence is a superpower. And we also believe that every child and citizen should have the right to develop it and be empowered to confidently contribute to the making of a world that we can all feel proud to live, work, and play in. As our African humanist philosophy of Ubuntu so beautifully defines, I am because of who we all are. Today, we have the most important design brief to write in the history of mankind, to design a prosperous future world for all our people and the planet. And through education, creativity has the power to transform the fabric of society and to develop a thriving culture of future makers that can confidently add value to the future world of business, our environments, and society at large. Open Design Africa, therefore, calls on all Africans and people from around the world to action even just small seeds of change, but everywhere, because collectively this impact will be massive. So join us and other like-minded organizations, please, and let's design our futures together. Thank you very much for your attention. And yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for the talk, Sune. That was amazing. It was very insightful into all the work that you're doing and all the amazing things Open Design Africa does. And we have been getting some questions. Well, I think they've all been answered. I think your presentation was quite thorough.
Wonderful.
Yes, I'm really glad to have you, and thanks a lot for your time and presenting to us.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much for having me. And again, congratulations to you and your team for doing an amazing job. It's an amazing event. So well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. So everyone else, we'll be starting the next session with Dean Broadley shortly. Okay. Thank you. See you there.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.